Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, December 1st. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma in for Maya Tribulsi. It's a milestone no one wanted to reach, a sad one, in fact, as San Diego County hit the 1,000 mark in COVID-19 deaths today. 1,019 to be exact. Today, San Diego County reported 22 deaths and 1,378 cases. Hospitals are filling up around the country with higher numbers of COVID-19 patients, including here in San Diego. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer takes a look at how some local hospitals are dealing with shrinking bed capacity.
The recent surge of coronavirus infections in San Diego County has hit local hospitals with a wave of new challenges. Dr. Christopher Longhurst of UC San Diego Healthcare says this time is different from the first surge in March or the summer spike, as COVID-19 hospitalizations have hit record highs.
But the surge that we're seeing now clearly is a much greater concern. We've hit over 700 hospitalizations in the county of San Diego, and there's no end in sight, no plateau. Our modeling locally shows that we will exceed 1,000 or even 1,400 hospitalizations in the next several weeks.
Longhurst says the rise in hospitalizations is putting a strain on hospital staff.
We're stretching our staff thin. We know that our physician services are filling up, and we're calling in overtime on our attending physicians. And so we're beginning to explore different elements of our surge plan that allow us to staff up in services like hospital medicine, where we can bring other specialists to help.
Sharp Healthcare CEO Chris Howard says the biggest concern for hospital beds is in the intensive care unit.
So as of today, we have 184 adult intensive care beds at Sharp facilities, and 159 or 86% of those beds are full. We've had some facilities like Sharp Coronado that have had fully occupied days, and others like Chula Vista that have approached it, currently sitting at 93%.
At UC San Diego Health and Sharp Healthcare, the plan for an overwhelmed hospital system involves collaboration between different medical facilities in the region.
We've all shared our beds between our facilities with one another, and we will continue to do so. So I imagine Scripps, UCSD, Palomar, other facilities would all be viable candidates to help us should we reach that point where we needed additional capacity.
Governor Gavin Newsom said in a Monday news conference that a stricter stay-at-home order may soon be put in place to help provide relief for the state's strained healthcare system. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
A possible statewide stay-at-home order hinges on whether we can drastically slow the spread of COVID-19. An infectious disease expert at UC San Diego told KPBS Evening Edition that what we do privately, not publicly, is playing a greater role.
A lot of our risk in the next few weeks is not going to come from bars and gyms and restaurants like it has been through the fall. It's going to come from people gathering with loved ones in their own homes. And that is, that's not something that the state can really limit.
It will take at least a couple of weeks of lower case levels for restrictions to ease in San Diego, but so far we are not seeing those numbers improve. From lost jobs to medical bills, the COVID-19 pandemic has put a major unexpected strain on the finances of millions of Americans. And as the end of the year approaches, some financial lifelines are set to expire. Some members of Congress want to see more aid approved and distributed before Joe Biden's inauguration. Karen Kafa reports from Washington.
Joe Biden introduced a diverse team of experienced economic experts he says will chart his administration's course for the U.S. recovery.
The team I'm announcing today will play a critical role in shaping our plan for action starting on day one and move fast to revive this economy.
Those close to the president-elect say his plans for his first 100 days in office include an expansive stimulus plan. But a group of bipartisan senators who unveiled their own $908 billion proposal Tuesday say Americans need help before January 20th.
We've worked night and day throughout the Thanksgiving recess because we recognize that families all across America are struggling.
Relief measures put in place earlier in the year, like a moratorium on evictions and a federal student loan payment freeze, are set to expire within weeks, leaving millions hoping Republicans and Democrats will put aside the politics and make a deal before year's end.
Let's hope our Democratic colleagues will finally let us make law in all the enormously important areas where we do not even disagree.
The Republican leader's idea of action on COVID has been to bring partisan legislation to the floor and then demand everyone accept it.
Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi had their first talk since the November 3rd election, though Mnuchin said it was more about the December 11th government funding deadline. In Washington, Karen Kafa, KPBS News.
Attorney General William Barr says the Justice Department has not found evidence to support allegations of widespread fraud that could have changed the result of the presidential election. In an interview with the Associated Press, Barr says both Justice and the Homeland Security Department have looked into claims of election fraud and come up empty. Those claims include systemic fraud and machines that skewed ballot counts. President Trump's legal team lashed out at the Justice Department, stating it had evidence of illegal voting in at least 6 states. Starting today, thousands of San Diego tenants will be able to apply to the county for help with their rent. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler tells us why this money is sorely needed for San Diego's renters.
The money comes from a mix of the county's general fund and the federal CARES Act. It's the second round of rent relief being offered to tenants in the county after the first round in October awarded more than $10 million to residents. The county has set aside $27 million in total, aiming to assist at least 10,000 households.
Right now, a lot of renters are protected under the eviction moratoriums, but those protections are running out in the early next year. And so if you have been impacted financially by COVID and you can't pay your rent and you've been behind on rent, this type of assistance is very valuable.
The county is awarding up to $3,000 for each household, money that can be used for past due or upcoming rent. Tenants in cities with existing rent relief programs are not eligible, unless those programs, like the city of San Diego's, have already been exhausted. The application can be accessed on the county's housing website.
The application doesn't take very long, takes 10-15 minutes to fill out the application. We will work with people for the appropriate verification documents after they apply.
With coronavirus cases rising to record numbers in the county, the threat of eviction for San Diego residents struggling to pay rent has never been greater. Now, the county hopes a few thousand residents will be able to use money that might have gone to rent to pay for food and medicine. Max Rivlin-Nadler, KPBS News.
Union workers from an AT&T call center in Miramar walked off the job today. They say they're concerned about a recent high number of positive cases.
One half of the 5th floor is where we have 12 positive coronavirus cases, and they've all happened in the last 2 weeks.
Our media partners, 10 News, talked to Chris Roberts, the president of the Local Communication Workers of America Union. He says they're asking for the call center to send home workers who may have been exposed and to make accommodations to further distance some of the employees, particularly those who are high risk. An AT&T spokesperson says they're working on confirming the positive cases and will provide a statement later today. By the end of the calendar year, city officials say they're hoping to have housed more than 1,000 homeless San Diegans. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says since the pandemic, many vulnerable residents have stayed at an emergency shelter inside the San Diego Convention Center.
This is not easy. Waking up every morning in the middle of a gigantic room and staying motivated. and having the patience to do so.
Hundreds of people who used to be homeless are getting ready to move out of the convention center and into housing.
And the biggest challenge is, we'd house everybody here if there was an inventory. There is no inventory of low-income housing in San Diego or any other city.
So officials had to get creative, leveraging state resources to purchase 2 hotels, one in Mission Valley and another in Kearney Mesa, that in the coming weeks will be filled.
Let me put it very simply, everybody. We need more of this in San Diego.
Incoming San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria says there's no amount of people living on the streets that San Diegans should be comfortable with, and he's setting an ambitious goal of ending chronic homelessness during his administration.
This is a testament to what we can do if we choose to do it. Shouldn't take a pandemic to care about our unsheltered population.
Outgoing Mayor Kevin Faulkner says the pandemic brought the region together like never before to tackle homelessness. And he says using the convention center as a shelter is, quote, a public health success story.
Only 27 residents and staff testing positive out of more than 9,300 tests administered since April. That's incredible.
Since the pandemic hit, around 840 people plus a few dozen families have gotten housed, with hundreds more expected by the end of this month.
There's miracles that happen here every single day. It's the stories that we don't hear. Those people that got jobs on their own, moved back with their families, got their own places.
The nonprofit Alpha Project was helping run operations at the convention center. While other temporary shelters still exist, the organization's leader simply says,
we need more of this.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Healthcare workers and nursing home residents should be the first to get the coronavirus vaccine when it becomes available. That's the decision today from CDC advisors. The 2 priority groups account for around 24 million Americans out of a total population of about 330 million. Current estimates project that no more than 20 million doses of each vaccine will be available by the end of the year. That means the shots will have to be rationed in the early stages. We learned this afternoon that Rady Children's Hospital will serve as a storage site for the COVID-19 vaccine. In a statement, the hospital says it was asked by the California Department of Public Health to use its ultra-low temperature freezer to store the vaccine until the FDA approves it for emergency authorization use. It's not yet known how much will be stored at Rady, when it will arrive, or who will receive it. The 2020 Atlantic hurricane season is officially over, but now, as Daryl Forges reports, the first major storm system of the fall is already impacting millions of people on the East Coast.
Goodbye hurricanes, hello frigid temperatures.
We have 10, 20, even 30 degrees below average for December.
The first fall storm system sending snow flurries in the south, and in the north, strong winds toppling trees, damaging homes.
You could just see the house swaying in the wind, like right towards our house. It's just so crazy, not something you'd ever expect to see.
This time of year, you can get the severe weather with a tornado threat, and then you get the snow and the cold on the backside. So a little bit of everything for everybody.
The storm system started off strong this week. On Sunday, about 15 million people from Louisiana to North Carolina were under the threat of severe weather. The system also affecting the Great Lakes with 2 to 4 inches of snow. Lake Erie could see as much as 8 inches.
For a lot of the Midwest, Great Lakes region, this is, first big snowfalls of the year, and then coldest air getting all the way down to the south.
As far south as Florida, the last time the air was this cool for some states was back in January. This latest system hitting as the Atlantic hurricane season ends, and in typical 2020 fashion, many can't catch a break.
Just one thing into another. December 1st comes, hurricane season ended. Let's bring on winter, and we have temperatures 20, 30 degrees below average for a lot of the eastern half of the country.
I'm Daryl Forges reporting.
Plenty of sunshine ahead for the week, but the winds will be with us, and they'll be getting stronger late Wednesday through Thursday. Winds will finally ease over the weekend, so looks like a significant Santa Ana wind event is coming up, and with the dry conditions, well, critical fire conditions make a return. Here we take a look. The potential for fires and the fire risk is going up there. We have the increasing Santa Ana winds, the dry vegetation, low humidities, strongest winds coming in here Thursday night into Friday. And up here in the mountains, wow, there could be some winds gusting up 75 miles an hour. And with that, a fire weather watch is being issued, and that will continue right through Saturday evening. So you can see a large area in Southern California here under those fire watches. Temperatures tonight dipping down to the upper 30s in Oceanside. Clear skies right to the coast, down to 27 in Mount Laguna. Ramona's at 33. Our weather on Wednesday, dry, offshore flow, winds increase, fire danger starts to go up. Temperatures, they'll be hovering in the low 70s in San Diego and Oceanside. Ramona's in the mid 70s. Borrego Springs, mid 70s, and Mount Laguna's at 66. Taking a look ahead to Thursday, well, we're still looking dry and windy here. Looking at the temperatures next few days, so you can see there'll be a pretty steady state right through the weekend. Temperatures close to 70. As we look into the interior sections, winds will be ramping up here as we head into Thursday and Friday, gusty winds. And as we head our way up the mountains, getting very windy here too, especially on Thursday into Friday. And in the deserts, we'll be looking at sunshine here, and the temperatures cool just a little bit, and then milder over the weekend. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
San Diego researchers and environmentalists are taking a close look at a pocket habitat that may become an important tool as the climate changes. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson says the region's salt marshes could be more than just squishy terrain in out-of-the-way places.
Matthew Costa steps gingerly into a little pocket wetland near the Del Mar Fairgrounds.
So just watch out for, I don't think it's very likely, but watch out for bird nests.
Endangered ridgeway rails like hiding in the pickleweed that covers the soft, moist ground between the train tracks and Camino del Mar. Costa is a postdoctoral researcher at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography.
Right. I think this is a good spot. This is 15 meters.
He's here to help unlock information about this salty marsh, information that can't be seen by the thousands of people who pass by each day.
We've got all these plants here. Underneath, there's a sort of a really muddy layer of sediment. And it's home to a lot of organisms too. There's lots of snails and other creatures living on the mud.
Costa uncrates his tools and pulls out a long silver tube with a wide fin on one side. It looks a bit like a stubby sword. He places it upright and leans in, pushing it into the ground. And then he uses a slide hammer to help him sink that tube even deeper. Once it's completely seated in the soft, wet dirt, Costa gently pulls the tube back out of the ground. A quick twist reveals the core sample, roughly 7 centimeters across and 48 centimeters long.
Right, so there is our sediment sample. And like I said, when I talk about how this is sort of like a time machine, we're looking down in the sediment, we're kind of looking back in time. So this sediment accumulated maybe hundreds of years ago and built up over time to where we have the plants living today.
Costa pulls samples, labels them, and in a lab he hopes to find out how much carbon is stored there.
It's an effort to try and catalog the amount of blue carbon that's currently stored in our San Diego coastal wetlands and ecosystems.
Corey Puccini is the California Conservation Manager at Wild Coast. He says the plants in the salt marsh grow fast, sucking in a lot of carbon dioxide. Some of that carbon gets trapped as the plants die and new ones grow over them. Unfortunately, Puccini says 90% of the region's coastal wetlands have been swallowed up by urbanization or dredged for recreation, but pockets persist.
So as you see behind me, there's a lot of these opportunity parcels that we like to call them, these orphaned wetlands that are in and around a lot of the currently existing wetlands in San Diego County that have the potential to be restored to enhance their capabilities to draw that carbon out of the atmosphere.
Costa's research will give conservationists a better idea of how efficient the salt marsh terrain is at storing carbon.
And seeing if we can ecologically enhance them to create this ecological uplift so that we can sequester more carbon using these natural solutions to draw carbon out of the atmosphere.
Doing that could help slow the pace of global warming, because carbon in the atmosphere is responsible for a warmer climate.
So we're looking at areas like Bataquitos Lagoon up in Carlsbad, the Kendall Frost Marsh in Mission Bay, here at San Diego Lagoon, Famosa Slough, and a number of our other coastal wetlands here throughout the region.
Wild Coast's Zach Plopper says this research will help them understand more about the ecosystems and habitats that are in the nearshore area.
With understanding how much carbon is stored in our local wetlands is really make San Diego County a leader on natural climate solutions.
Plopper says blue carbon refers to habitats near the ocean that are particularly good at capturing and storing carbon.
The salt marsh and seagrass here that we have San Diego County are these blue carbon ecosystems. They sequester and store more atmospheric carbon than any other ecosystem on the planet,
which makes them both a hedge against global warming and a buffer against rising sea levels. That's why Scripps researcher Matthew Costa is interested in measuring the impact the habitat has already had. He hopes mapping out the terrain's past will help gauge the salt marsh's ecological value in the future. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
California State University system extended its fall 2021 application deadline to December 15th to accommodate students coping with the pandemic. The application deadline was originally this Friday. Yesterday, the University of California system extended its application period to Friday, December 4th because of technical problems with its online portal. Los Angeles County is now under more restrictions, including a ban on even outdoor dining. But as Jeff Wynn reports, not everyone is following the rules.
At Eat at Joe's in Redondo Beach, the restaurant continues to offer outdoor in-person dining, even after LA County implemented a new rule against sit-down meals. Owner Alex Jordan says he's doing so to protect his 11 employees and their families.
Cutting them off 4 weeks before Christmas, is that wrong with me?
Today, the LA County Public Health Director says a temporary stoppage isn't meant to punish hard-working businesses who have been in compliance with safety guidelines.
Because people who are there are not able to wear their face coverings. And the principle here is if you don't have that face covering on, there's much greater risk of transmission.
Natalie Burns and Sarah Davis are visiting from Las Vegas.
It's rough right now with local businesses, and I give him props for staying open and, trying to save his business.
And Walmart's open, malls are open, airports are fully booking airplanes again.
Dr. Barbara Ferrer says businesses that remain open do so at reduced capacity and customers are masked up the entire time, unlike restaurants. She used a chart to show why this is the most difficult moment of the pandemic, which is why restaurants will get one warning.
On the second round, there will be citations and/or people can have their food permit revoked. We hope we never get there.
Back in Redondo Beach, Alex Jordan has put up a banner mocking Governor Newsom, who was recently caught on camera at a birthday party at a Northern California restaurant, while businesses like his have faced multiple rounds of restrictions.
I'm not a person that easily wants to fight the system or anything. I hit my wall.
That was Jeff Wynn reporting. The no in-person dining rule is expected to last 3 weeks. Fines are between $500 and $1,000 a day. Restaurants can still do takeout and delivery. Amazon is reporting record-breaking sales over the holiday shopping season so far. Amazon said small and medium-sized businesses that use the platform took in nearly $5 billion between Black Friday and Cyber Monday, a 60% jump from last year. Top-selling items this year include former President Barack Obama's new memoir, the new Echo Dot, and the Revlon One-Step hairdryer brush. According to Adobe Analytics, sales grew 22% for the period between Thanksgiving Day and Cyber Monday. To show appreciation to frontline workers, healthcare workers, and first responders can now get free coffee at Starbucks. Starbucks is offering a free tall brewed coffee, hot or iced, through the end of the year. Those eligible for the freebie include any healthcare workers, dispatchers, firefighters, paramedics, police officers, dentists, and active duty military. You just have to show your ID.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, access to the vaccine. Who will be the first to be offered a shot to prevent COVID? Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Here's a recap of our top stories. Today, San Diego County surpassed 1,000 deaths from the coronavirus, 1,019 to be exact. 22 deaths and 1,378 cases were reported. Local hospitals are filling up with higher numbers of COVID-19 patients. UC San Diego Healthcare says this time is different from the first surge in March or the summer spike as hospitalizations have hit record highs. Starting today, thousands of local renters will be allowed to apply for relief. The money comes from a mix of the county's general fund and a federal CARES Act. This is the second round of rent relief being offered. The first was in October that awarded more than $10 million to residents. In all, $27 million has been set aside to assist 10,000 households. And more than 1,100 people will be moving into more permanent housing by the end of the year. This is part of Operation Shelter to Home, San Diego City's COVID-19 homeless shelter program at the Convention Center. The shelter opened its doors back in April due to the pandemic, and it's peaked, housed as many as 1,300 people a day. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.